What do you make of the strategy right now among leaders of the Democratic Party to oppose or resist what Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing?
Compare Hakeem Jeffries in that quote saying, I'm just trying to figure out what leverage we have. Can you imagine if Churchill had said that when Hitler was marching? Instead of never, never, ever give up, he said, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out what leverage we have.
I think they gave up.
Pardon?
I think they've given up.
Of course they would have given up. So no, it absolutely does not give any confidence to Democratic voters to hear Hakeem Jeffries talking about how he's trying to figure out what leverage. I agree with the gentleman from Rhode Island. I think that Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and others who are of their ilk did create the big hole that this neo-authoritarian takeover has walked into, and I don't think that they are the generals that we need helping us right now.
Do you think it's the right strategy, though, to just utterly oppose or make fun of or snipe at everything Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing? Look, cutting government waste, fraud, and abuse is a popular thing. Donald Trump couldn't have been clearer that what he was going to do this time. Actually, I didn't believe him. That was my reluctance for Trump a second time around, was like, well, I've already seen this show and there was no cutting of government to speak of. I'm as shocked as anyone that they're actually doing it. I'm delighted. I'm never shocked in a positive direction about what happens in government except for this moment in time. Do Democrats want to be the party that says, stop cutting so much government, stop getting rid of so many government employees? That's what they want to do?
That's not what we're saying. We're saying everything must be done within a democratic process.
All right.
You're saying this is exactly what Trump said he was going to do. No, it's not. He said that at the time, Ramaswamy and Musk were going to make recommendations.
Well, that's all they're doing.
No, they're not making recommendations.
And Trump's accepting their recommendations.
No, they are not. They are by decree going in there with a few computer guys. Excuse me, Musk is not an expert on government programs or on government itself. They're simply going into these computers, having fired the inspector generals who were put there by Congress in order to oversee. They're not learning about these programs. They're cutting out programs that give governmental grants, that give educational grants, that help children with autism and disabilities. They're cutting out grants that have to do with fighting malaria and tuberculosis. And they're calling this fighting corruption.
Well, we're pausing those and
Pardon?
looking at them.
Oh,
and
please.
those are going to be back real fast. Look, I agree that...
And they stopped funding public hospitals. Saying that this is rooting out corruption is a complete ruse. This is the money that they are saving here. Look what they did with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They're telling the American people.
So delighted to have that gone.
Fine, Robby, because
greatest.
they cut out what they said. We cut out $700 million. But that bureau had given back $21 billion to consumers after those consumers had been frauded and abused by companies.
So the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says in their expertise, they say that those people are being defrauded. They punish the company. The companies pass on all of those costs to their consumers. Their very purpose and design is to make services that people want more expensive and more annoying.
Right.
I mean, I get that that's the progressive project, and that's why progressives are losing right now, because they're just out of touch with what the American people want. The American people don't want more regulation. They don't want businesses' lives to be more difficult, which ends up making everything more expensive. That's what they voted against.
So progressives do not want dictatorial decree by companies, which is what you're
This was
assuming.
dictatorial decree by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is not congressionally overseen at all.
What we do not want is dictatorial decree by Elon Musk. What we do not want is dictatorial decree by these people just going into computer systems, cutting out thousands and thousands of pages from websites. There is no recommendation going on here.
Was it dictatorial when they upgraded the healthcare website?
No, Robby.
That's what they're doing. They're doing a massive version of that to make government more efficient.
No,
and
this
Elon
is
Musk
not
is an
making
expert
government
at that.
more efficient.
He
This
is an expert
dismantling
at that.
government. This is gutting government
that's what
programs.
makes it more efficient.
And these government, but see, you said it yourself.
We're dismantling. I do want to dismantle.
You don't really like democracy. Democracy is messy.
No, I don't like government.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for admitting
I don't like
it.
government.
Okay, everybody.
Who likes
heard it.
government?
They don't like government.
But who likes
government?
government?
What they're trying to do is to dismantle the U.S. government, and that is the autocratic. That is the project going on here.
Autocracy is when you make the government more powerful and more...
It is an effort to make the American people distrust democracy. That's exactly what's going on here. And it's supposed to be governance according to corporate profit. That's what's going on here. Taking all interest on behalf of the public sector and putting it in the hands of the private sector. You said it yourself, which is fine for a few people. You and I will do pretty well. 20% of Americans will do very well. But marginalized people, people who do not have the skills that they need, they do not have the health care that they need, they do not have the education that they need in order to thrive, well, they'll just have to do away. So forget government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
More money on education.
That's why we should have
so many other
Medicare for all.
countries, and it doesn't. But we don't get better. We don't get better outcomes. We're getting rid of the
We
education
would with
department,
Medicare for all.
but we're not. Let's just use the education funding as an example. We're going to get rid of the education department, but we're not going to get rid of public funding for education. We're just going to say this massive federal bureaucracy that has not improved reading and math scores in the entire time it's existed. Maybe that is not necessary. We're still going to pay. We're still going to provide education. I was being a little bit flippant earlier, but I agree that there's a purpose for government, and there will be accommodations made for the less fortunate, and there will be some government funding of services.
Where do you get this? There will be accommodations made for the less fortunate. Then why are you getting rid right now of the Department of Education?
Because we're no longer going to view the federal government as a jobs provider for federal employees, which is the way the government is treated. We don't have to have government administer services that the private market can provide much more cheaply and much more efficiently. We can still pay for it with taxpayer dollars, as we're going to do for education. We're still going to pay for people to go to school. But does the federal government, this awful, bloated monstrosity, need to oversee every detail of education? Actually, I think even people on the left should say no.
The Department of Education is run by the states.
Yeah.
The Department of Education is not transgressing against that. We're talking about things that have to do with helping children with autism, helping children with disabilities. We're talking about helping the people who have the least ability to help themselves. And no, the private market is not going to step in and do that. No, it's not going to. And when you talk about taking on government corruption, fine. I'll tell you who's laughing right now are the lobbyists and the corporate lawyers and lobbyists here in Washington, D.C. You want to take on corruption, take on the insurance companies, take on the pharmaceutical companies, take on big food, big chemical, big agricultural companies, big oil companies. You want to get rid of bloat? You get rid of those multi-billion-dollar corporate subsidies to big oil that's already making billions. Well, why are you going after the little things that actually help people?
Farm subsidies, energy subsidy. I want to get rid of all subsidies. I've never met a subsidy I didn't want to destroy on site. So I'm with you on that.
If that's what Elon Musk was after, really getting rid of corruption, that's where you go. Getting rid of the programs that help the most marginalized, powerless people in our society is not getting rid of corruption.
That's not everything.
This is gaslighting.
I'm sure
this is tyranny by gaslighting, and that is straight out of the playbook of autocratic takeovers everywhere. And that's what's going on.
When we're getting rid of USAID funding to do, like, I don't know, drag performances in the Middle East or something.
Some of that. I'm not saying in any of these programs that recommendations should not have been reasonable. But that is very different. Recommendations, you talk to all of the people, you understand what all of the projects are, then you go back to Congress. That's called the democratic process.
I agree with that.
Then Elon Musk going in there with his little geek goons, and going into the computers, taking out what he doesn't want. Let's not forget his own $400 million contract for armored Teslas. That's a whole other conversation.
When we get to
why do we need armored Teslas? His
that will be
$18 billion worth of government contracts over the last few years. And when Trump was asked about that, what about conflict of interest? Isn't that corruption? Which, by the way, inspectors general in several of these agencies had been looking into right before they were scrapped by Elon Musk. But Trump said he'll self-monitor. Trump said he'll self-monitor everyone, so we don't have to worry about.
I agree with you that when we get to
because Elon Musk will make sure that he's a good guy.
I agree with you when we get to the defense part of this and the contracts. And we will be paying a lot of attention. And I agree.
And so who's going to be overseeing Elon Musk and his contracts? Can you tell me?
I think Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Okay, that's corruption.
I don't think that part of it.
That's
well, I'm not defending every aspect of this. I agree with you. That's a problem, and they've said there's going to be
called
defense.
Destroying democracy and replacing it with autocracy, where they get to do whatever they want to do, but they'll tell you they're getting rid of corruption. Straight out of the playbook, Robby. You should be concerned. If you're a real conservative, you should be concerned.
I said
all Americans should be concerned. We like our democracy no matter what side of the political spectrum.
Well, I like democracy, but I don't fetishize democracy because I don't fetishize democracy because there can be bad outcomes that come out of democracy. Right?
That's what makes it messy. That's the conversation that needs to be had. It is messy, and that's why every American needs to be involved in the process. This is where we should be looking at the part that has been played by legislators on both sides of the aisle because of the undue influence of all that corporate and donor money that has been making them spend all that money in a corrupt way.
We'll continue this conversation in
so.
just a minute. We got to take a quick break.